Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube comf to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: Datamagnet and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. Story number 1, From the Ashes, written by EatFrozenPeas. Brittle black branches crunched beneath my boots as I strode through the skeletal remains of the forest. Flakes of ash swirled in the air, drifting silently amongst the monolithic, charred trunks that had once supported the verdant canopy. Here and there, ember beds still seethed, and smoke bellowed from the smouldering cores of larger trees. Though the flames had died out, the heat was still so intense that my exposed fur shriveled at the ends. Removing my helmet, I inhaled deeply despite the discomfort, my nostrils filled with the scent of charcoal. My ears twitched involuntarily in the hot air as they registered the crackling of the wood and the gentle pinging of the cooling metal. The next town's remains were not far now, and I held no illusions as to what I would find. The comm in my helmet crackled loudly into life. Rescue Retrieval Unit 45 report in. Though professional as always, Rin could not keep the exhaustion from his voice. I couldn't blame him. This was destruction on a scale we had never personally experienced. The whole planet burned, a civilization up in smoke, a people in ashes, and us sifting through the remains with ever less hope. RR approaching last known location of firefighting crew Terra 6. No contact. Noted. Next scheduled check-in 28 minutes. Acknowledged. When the news of the disaster broke, dozens of species had volunteered to come to the aid of the Chiri. Thulu, Menon, Rext, Bawun, and even the newcomers like humans. It would have been a great moment in intergalactic cooperation, if not for the utter failure of our efforts. Crews of all species had been dispatched to anchor points, cities, and villages around the globe. The violence of the updrafts made dropping in difficult and flying out impossible. There was no hope for rescue. All they could do was dig in and save what they could. We lost contact with more than 80% of them. We watched from orbit as flames raced over their positions. Now, as the ash took its place of the fire in the sky, we searched for survivors. The remains of the tree, at least 7 meters wide, collapsed behind me. The snap and rumble of its branches accompanied by the shriek of metal giving way. An entire civilization built in the canopy of a tropical rainforest. Human air. No history of forest fires, no volcanoes, no knowledge of aliens that wanted the metal beneath their roots. No idea of the danger that they were in. So unprepared. I put the thought from my mind. I was nearing my search coordinates now, and I needed my senses sharp and focused. A clearing loomed ahead of me, an attempt at a firebreak. A lump of twisted, blackened metal sat off to the side, too large for the Chiri to have used. Human machinery. I keyed the comm. RR-45 on location, visual on equipment, no sign of survivors. Beginning sweep. Acknowledged. I set up my perimeter and began my search. I heard nothing but crumbling of trees, saw nothing but charcoal and ash, smelled nothing but dust and burnt flesh. My stomach turned. I had expected this, trained for this, but it was never easy to face. Following the scent, I made my way between the enormous trunks to the bodies. They were mounded up in the roots of the tree. 6 of them pressed against each other in a futile effort to shield themselves from the flames. Lingering traces of steam seeped from beneath them. They had doused their clothes in a last-ditch effort to save themselves. RR-45 reporting casualties. Terra 6 recovered. Appears no survivors. Continuing search for locals. I was already turning away from the sight of melted clothes and scorched flesh when I heard it. Faint, rasping. Barely there. Breathing. Hope filled me. One survivor. Huwak prays, just give me one survivor. I leapt to the pile, pulling aside the scorched remains of the first one, then the next body. They were packed so tight that I was literally peeling the bodies from the pile. Checking helmets, checking chests. Nothing again. Pulling the fifth body free. I froze. Here! My survivor. Covered by the others, it was largely unscathed. Soot covered it, but I could see its face. Lips blistered, delicate skin cracked behind a helmet visor. Unconscious, but alive. Leaning over it, I realized I was shouting into my comms. We have a survivor, one survivor. Get a medevac to my location immediately. The noise seemed to rouse the human, and its eyelids cracked open. I needed to get it back into the clearing where the carrier would land. I gently drew the human into my arms, moving as carefully as possible, and turned to leave. The strange, dark eyes suddenly seemed to focus. Its arms flailed, its head shook. A seizure? No. It wants something. I'm sorry, I murmured softly, but your companions are dead. The eyes flashed, the lips parted, a rasp. Don't try and speak. We're gonna get you out of here. Louder rasping, more gesturing. The brow furrowed. It pointed back desperately. They're dead. I'm sorry. We can't go back. A sudden jerk and the human struck me. It was rasping furiously, gasping for air and coughing as blood colored its thin lips. I had heard about human social bonding, and it would not leave its team. I had to show it. I'm sorry, I whispered again, but look. I turned back to show it the charred, unmoving remnants of its friends. They're gone. The human in my arms nodded abruptly, a gesture for yes. It understood. I turned to go. Again, it twisted in my grip. No. Something else. It gestured weakly back to where it had lain. Set it down. Did it wish to die with its pack? You wish to die here? It shook no. Gestured, every movement looking like agony. In confusion, I stared at the corpses, at the roots where they lay, at the dark hole between the roots where my survivor had huddled. I stopped. The hole lying in my arms, the humans felt me stiffen, following my gaze. It nodded again, vigorously. Yes, the hole! As delicately as I could, I laid my precious cargo on the ground. I sniffed, ears twisted forward, every sense straining as I approached the burrow. I smelled blood, burnt skin, and fabric, water, soil, ash. And something else, something musty. I heard rustling, not rasping breath or shifting ash, but the gentle sounds of scales sliding against each other. The sounds of living creatures. I howled with joy and plunged over the body, staring at the soaked loam around the trunk until I could see what lay beneath. A small burrow, soaked with the last reserves of the human water tanks and packed with at least 40 chiri. They were huddled together, nearly catatonic from lack of oxygen and heat, but survivors all. I heard a faint buzzing and realized that I was howling into the comm, all professionalism fallen away in joy. Rin was shouting too. The evac team was coming. They were going to live. Lifting out the first floor, I turned to show the human that they were safe, that they had triumphed, and my fur fell flat. The soot-covered chest had stilled. There was no more rasping. The thin, pale lips were twisted upwards, blood coating its chin. Behind the mask, those strange seed-shaped eyes were fixed and glossy. Gone. The last human of Fire Team Terra 6 had seen out its duty and had died in peace. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.